Let's look at the stages of program development. The stages of program development. We have the problem definition. We have the problem definition. In this stage of program development, the programmer tries to identify the problem he's trying to solve. Now, the question should be, you are trying to develop a software, you are trying to develop a program. What problem are you trying to solve, and how do you intend to solve this problem? So it starts with what? Problem definition. You have to know the problem. There's no way you start solving a question or trying to get a solution without having a question. So that is the problem definition. And then we have the pseudocode and flowcharts. Now, after the problem has been defined, after the programmer knows what the problem is and he wants to solve this problem, what is the next step? The next step, it takes the programmer to the pseudocode and flowchart. He has to do what? Create a step-by-step way of solving this problem. He has to create flowcharts and write a lot of pseudocode to look at how he can solve this problem, trying to identify the problem, trying to solve the problem using the pseudocode, which is the step-by-step way of what representing instructions to be performed. He has to make use of the pseudocode and the flowchart to write out the instructions, and not just to write out the instructions and the various steps needed, but to also know them in a particular order, which is in a sequential order, to know how the system will work. After that, he has to go into coding. And this is where we talk about different languages. So he has to look and then starts the coding, starts writing the code that will make these instructions that he has written out here, the steps he has written out here, to work. He has to choose a particular language, whether Java, PHP, Perl, or whatsoever, to write out these codes that will be used for this program. Then after that, he has to go to the next step, which is the testing and debugging. Testing and debugging. In this stage, the programmer is done with the coding, and then he looks on how he's going to test this program. So he can give it to someone to test, or he can do that himself. Testing and debugging. Debugging is to check if there are errors. So in a case where he finds errors, he will do what? Have to make some adjustments in the code. So this can take several weeks or several days to go through. So he may not be able to do that all alone. So he can give it to friends, he can give it to contract it out to an institute or call people to make reviews and write reviews. And after that, after testing, he can then debug. And after debugging and making sure that the program is okay, it now goes to the last stage, which deals with the documentation. Documentation and maintenance. In this particular stage, the program is then compiled and the instructions on how to use the program and everything is compiled. The software is published